right, to cut right to the chase, answering the question in the video's description, yes, you can use this Quadtari device on a modern PC, but it's a matter of finding the right equipment to use with it. But before I get into that, I just wanted to explain, I know I did have a video on the Quadtari, and I just kind of wanted to explain what it is. This is a device by Bite the Chili Productions that allows you to plug in up to 4 devices on your Atari 2600 on the physical hardware and be able to use 4 devices, or just use 2 devices and still have a save key option so that you can save your high scores and that sort of thing. And so how it works is you have a cable right here in port A. This plugs into the left side of your Atari 2600, and the cable on B plugs into the right side. And then you can see from the instructions, you can use up to 4 controllers to play 4-player games. And so that is a really nice functionality, in particular for multiplayer games. For me, the primary reason to have it is for multiplayer, and then also to be able to plug in your save keys, the save key, and be able to save your high scores. Up until now, what I had been using for modern games, if I wanted to play an emulation, is this Retro Designs USB adapter, and this plugs into your USB port, and then you can plug in your joystick, whether it's a CX40 or if you have a Hyperkin Trooper or whatever controller you decide to use, you can plug it in. And then this adapter works for the Commodore 64 as well as the Atari 2600 and probably some other systems as well. But however, this adapter does not even get recognized when you go to plug it into the Quadtari. So I had the question, I was wondering, is it possible at all? Is there any device out there or anything that will allow you to sort of use this Quadtari for multiplayer games on a modern computer? And so what I did was I reached out to John Champeau, who is the programmer of Champ and CEO of Champ Games, and he makes all those amazing games like Mappy, Scramble, and most recently Kicks, Gorf Arcade, and he's working on just a number of games. And he said, hey, you know what? I have had success. I do have a piece of hardware that can do it. And as far as I know, it's the only adapter that can do it. And it's sold by 2600adapter.com, and it's the 2600 Adapter D9. With that, I went ahead and purchased it. And so if you see, this adapter is a little bit different than this one. The first thing you'll notice is on the back, there are some dip switches, and then also the USB cable that you need for it is a USB 2.0 Type B. These are ones that were commonly used on USB printers for a while. I don't know if they still are. If you look at their website on 2600adapter.com, there's a nice chart, and it shows you which of the products that they sell are compatible with which pieces of hardware. And this is the only one on their site that does have a check mark next to the Quadtari, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. Now, when I first purchased this device, I don't recall what position the dip switches were in, but when I was just kind of looking around at it, you don't even have to read the manual. You'll notice that there's kind of a manual right here. It shows you what positions the dip switches should be in for AutoSense all the way up, Amiga, the first one down, the other 2 up, and ST, and then the CX22 and the CX80. So there's different settings depending upon what it is that you're trying to do. And I think when I looked at it, I think these pins were all down. It says Atari 2600, and that sort of made sense. However, that is not the proper configuration for this to work with the Quadtari. The only way I've been able to get it to work is to pop all of these dip switches up, and then you have a chance at making it work. So I'll kind of go over what you do. You'll plug in your USB adapter, your USB cable, and then you plug the other end of that into your computer, just into your USB port. This right here plugs into your Quadtari port A. So you'll plug this into port A, and then you'll plug your individual joysticks in on ports 3 and 1 on your Quadtari. If you do that, and then there's one more additional setting which I'll go over that you have to do within Stella to make it work. Basically, you have to go into Stella, set joystick 1 up and joystick 2 up. There's a couple of things I wanted to bring up. The 2600 adapter, there are other devices on their website that they sell. And while I was in purchasing mode, I picked up the 2600 adapter too. This one does not support the Quadtari, but it does support your joystick, your paddles and keypads and things like that. So I thought I might as well, while I'm purchasing stuff from their website, I'll pick this one up as well. This one on their website, you can, I think there's a discount if you buy 2 of them. I did not opt for that. And based on what I've seen on the settings within Stella, I don't believe, I'm not sure, let's put it that way. I don't know if it'll work if you buy 2 of these adapters and then be able to play a 4-player game. I did put the question out on Atari Age, and maybe I put it on the wrong place on Atari Age, but I didn't get a response back. So I'm not sure if anyone out there knows the answer to that. If you buy 2 of these, maybe it'll work with 4-player games, but I kind of think it won't, is my guess. All right, so this is the website for the Retronic design adapter. So if you don't really care about the multiplayer part and you just want a kind of a nifty adapter that works with the Commodore 64 and with the Atari 2600, and you want to try that out in for emulation purposes, this one's very affordable at only $29.99 Canadian. And then if you want to buy 2 of them, it's $54.99 Canadian. And so you do find yourself going to these weird stores and things when you're trying to find solutions for your retro gaming needs. There's probably other adapters just like this. I used to have an old adapter that was a USB that split into 2. That one was great. It worked for multiplayer games also, but it stopped working after a couple of years of use. This video is all about connecting up the Quadtari to a modern PC and being able to use it with 2 joysticks. I understand we could just use 2 USB adapters to accomplish the same thing. Now, the 2600 adapter website is right here, and it's not an HTTPS website. I did purchase from it, so just be aware of that if that's something that bothers you. And then if you look at the chart, it shows you which device that they sell here. Going across this way, the original 2600 adapter, 2602, the Vision, the 2600 D9, and the 2600 PDL. And then on the left, it shows you all the devices that it has compatibility for. And if you'll notice, for Quadtari, the 2600 D9 is the only one that has a checkbox next to it. I went ahead and purchased one of those, and then I also picked up the 2602, basically for paddle kind of support and the driving support. Who doesn't love Indy 500? Then if you scroll down the site, you'll see here the prices. They also have a discount if you buy 2 of them. So it's $35 for 1 and $65 if you were to buy 2 at a time. Anyway, now let's take a look at Stella. All right, now that I have Stella opened up, if you kind of navigate to the game that you want to try out, and then go into options, and then under options you go into game properties, and then under game properties you flip over to controllers. Now there is an option for Quadtari which right now is grayed out, but this is not the option that you use for compatibility with this device. Instead, what you do is you just set the left port to joystick and then the right port to joystick. And then that's all you need to do within Stella. Believe me, I fiddled around with this for more than an hour before I got all this working. So that's why I made this video, was to try to make it easy if you're using this device to set it up. I'm going to now flip over to my computer side, and I have my Quadtari right here. I got my adapter D9 right here. I'm going to plug in the USB cable. It's a USB 2.0 type B. And then the other end of this cable plugs directly into your computer. And then you take the port A side of the Quadtari and then plug it into the D9. And now all you have to do on your Quadtari is plug joysticks into these two ports, port 3 and port 1. So I got my Trooper right here. I'm going to plug it in to port 3. And I got my TAC 2, and I'm going to plug it into port 1. And that's all you need to play the game. So let's kick it off. Now in Kicks, what you do is you hit F1, switch it to a cooperative player, and then F2 to play. And you'll notice I have individual control. It's hard to play two-player by yourself. One joystick in the left, one joystick in the right. So anyway, that was just to demonstrate that it did in fact work. I know this seems like a very complicated setup to get this all working, but I hope that it helps somebody if they're trying to get their adapter D9 working with a Quadtari. I know it's a niche of a niche. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.